School lunch challenge, back at it again. Today we have breakfast items, and the students were given a milk, a juice, an apple, and a blueberry muffin. So we are gonna get rid of the juice, and we're gonna go ahead and turn these three items into apple blueberry pancakes. So we will be using a griddle today. Make sure you have parents' permission to be on the stove or have them put it on there for you. But let's get started making the ingredients. We're gonna take our bowl, and into the bowl, we're gonna go ahead, open up our muffin. Okay, and we're gonna really crumble the bits of muffin. So we can smell the blueberry coming out of this. More flavoring than it is fruit, but it will give flavor to the mixture. And this helps to be some of our flour, but we are gonna need some flour because this is quite sticky. 1/3 cup of flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, because we wanna get some rise out of these. And 1 teaspoon of sugar. Even though these muffins are sweet, we do want to add in a little bit of sugar to this. From here, we're just going to set that aside for a moment and get our liquids ready. Oh, and don't forget, always add a little pinch of salt, just a little, to help round out the flavor. So in my measuring cup, I'm going to go ahead and add in 6 ounces of milk. I'm going to measure. That's 3/4 of a cup. Since your milk carton is 1 cup, you're not going to use all of it. So into that, I measured out 1 tablespoon of oil. I have a little measuring glass, but you can do it simply in a tablespoon. Measure. Okay, so we have that ready to go in. And then we are going to grate our apples. So we do want to use a box grater or some type of a grater with a medium shred. And I personally like the skin, so I shred it with the skin, a little extra fiber. But you certainly don't have to. You can do that without. Okay, so I grated all my apple. That is the core remaining. I don't want that, so I'm going to put that aside. I'm going to go ahead and take my dry ingredients, and with a whisk or with a fork is fine, but I want to mix these ingredients together to distribute the baking powder and to break up the muffin a little bit more. So to this, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to add in all of this apple, and I just have a handy little plastic scraper. And it seems like a lot of apple. These are going to be quite moist pancakes, but we're also not using any eggs. So it's going to help to take a little bit of the moisture that the egg would provide. So go ahead and again, just mix that together. I have a little baby whisk here because, like I said, I do like gadgets, but you can use a regular whisk or you can use a fork. Now, I used my measuring cup for my milk and my oil. And I'm just going to go ahead and mix that around and then pour that right over the mixture. Pouring that over the mixture, I'm going to moisten the whole batter, and I'm going to decide if I need any more flour. So I think I would like, this is a little loose, I would like another 1/3 cup of flour. So we're going to add that in. So in total, making that 2/3 cup of flour. Want it to be a little bit thicker when I put it onto the griddle. And like I said, usually kind of test these out as I'm going along and hope that they taste good. So if they don't, then you won't see this video. Okay, so it's definitely thicker, like a pancake batter, which is what we want. And we're gonna portion it onto the griddle. So if you want, you can take the measuring cup that you already had that hasn't been cleaned yet, and just carefully put in some of your batter. Now this is going to make quite a few pancakes. Okay, so our batter, and then we're going to be putting them onto a hot skillet. You can use an electric skillet, or you can use the skillet on the stove. You can use a fry pan, but you want to lightly spray it with pan spray so that it doesn't stick, and you want to get it over a medium flame. You don't want it too hot, or it's going to darken the pancake before it can cook into the center. So we're going to let that sit for a minute while we get our griddle ready. So you can see that I am at my stove. I have a small griddle, and in my measuring cup, I could just pour it directly on, but I'm gonna portion it out. So I wanna get my pancakes on to the griddle and kind of move them around so that they flatten. These are gonna be a little moist. They're more like a Polish pancake, a Polish apple pancake, than a standard pancake. But when they're on the stove, basically keep that heat low once it comes up to temperature, and then when you put your pancakes on, allow them to sit until you start seeing, and you can see those bubbles poking up. That's the leavener that's rising to the top. We want to wait until we get it all set on the edges and that the bubbles are on top. But obviously this is a stove, it's hot, so be really careful with working at the stove and make sure that you have permission. So here you can see that the bubbles are slowing down and they're staying open. The edges are starting to set a little, so I'm going to go ahead and peek, and they're ready to flip. So very carefully flip them over. We have a nice even brown. Now I did use pan spray on this. You don't want to use butter unless you're using something called clarified butter. And you can see here they have that nice fluffiness to them. So now that we've flipped them over, we're going to take about another 30 seconds until they're cooked on the bottom. Okay, so they have a good color on the bottom. And then they're ready to come off. So after I cooked off all my pancakes, the batter will yield anywhere from 6 to 8, depending on how you portion them. I want to get ready to taste these. But typically a Polish pancake, you can put syrup on it. It's not very sweet. These have the perfect amount of sweetness. I'm just going to put a little powdered sugar on it, and I'm going to cut through the pancake so that we can go ahead and see. This is quite the stack, so this would be shared with a friend. But go ahead and see how our pancakes came out. So they are moist inside from the apple and from the fact that we didn't use an egg, and they're hot and they're creamy, and I think that they're gonna make a great breakfast instead of just a cold muffin for breakfast. Now we've got hot, steaming, lovely looking apple blueberry pancakes. So school lunch challenge accepted.